What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another video. So you can probably tell by the title and the thumbnail of this video, we are starting another new project, but I kind of wanted just to make this video real quick to kind of just introduce the project, talk about future plans with it, and also get your guys' help and kind of opinion on what motor setup I should do on this. So before I get too in depth on it and actually talking about what we're gonna do to it, let's get it pulled into the garage real quick and then see what we're actually working with, and I'll show you guys some beauty shots of what the new project actually is. So as you guys can tell, I picked up a new four-wheeler frame or quad, whatever you want to call it. So I picked this thing up about 2 or 3 weeks ago off Facebook Marketplace for $100, which I thought was a steal. The tires alone will cost you more than $100, so I was like, I had to hop on this instantly, picked it up, and just kind of been hiding it in the backyard in the meantime while we finished up the mini drift quad. So if you haven't seen that, suggest you go check out the last video where we actually finished this thing up completely, got everything painted and installed, and then she's all finished up now. We still need to take this thing out and actually have some fun with it, which I do plan on doing in the upcoming videos coming up, but we do need a new build for the channel to actually start on, so this is the plan with this thing. So I do plan on keeping this thing an off-road machine, especially since it's already got the wheels and tires for it. It's jacked up already, and pretty much the only thing it's missing is a motor on it. So I really want to have a nice little off-road machine, especially since I don't really have any around here. I have my off-road drag bike, but since this thing is like 2 or 3 inches off the ground, it's not really too fun to drive around in sugar sand or mud and that. And then this bike is just a little too pretty to take out, so I kind of want to leave that as it is. But this is going to be the new little off-road ripper. Take out in some sugar sand, maybe take in some water, sink it, do whatever we want with it. But I'm still trying to figure out what to actually put inside the center here. So what motor do we want to do? So I do have a couple 6.5 horsepower lying around. I got one on the shelf over there. That's pretty much what I'm known for, mounting 6.5 horsepowers like I did in the mini drift quad, and then on my drag bike here, and then also on this mini bike as well. So I'm considering doing the 6.5 horsepower just because I know them really well, but since this thing is basically double the size of the mini quad over there, I really want to put some bigger motor in there, maybe something with double the power. So luckily I already have an 11 horsepower Honda GX340 that I've had sitting on the side. I think I took it off the go-kart a while back, but it's just been sitting here. It does need some work, but this thing would give double the power. It is also double the size of like a 6 horsepower, and it's gonna be a little tricky to fit in there. I know a 6.5 horsepower will fit in there no problem, pretty much with the gas tank and everything stock. So I kind of want to make this thing a little bit of a challenge, but I want to hear your guys' opinion. Do I put the 11 horsepower in it, or do I put the 6.5 horsepower in it? I'm gonna test fit both of them for you guys, just so you guys can actually see what I'm kind of working with size wise and all that. I already did some quick measurements on the frame compared to the 11 horsepower engine. I already have to take off the gas tank, air filter, and muffler to get the block to fit in there, but if I do plan on doing that, I kind of plan on doing a gas tank like the mini one over there, kind of up on the top here, so I shouldn't have any problems fitting just the block inside of there. But kind of want to test fit a few things, see what we can do, and just kind of have a quick little intro to the new project that we got going on and what motor we're actually going to decide to put inside of this thing. So let's start test fitting. I think I'm going to get a 6.5 horsepower block and just toss it in there real quick, and I'll show you guys what she's looking like. I'll fit it up in there. So I got a 6.5 horsepower engine mocked up inside the frame. I ended up having to pop the muffler and intake off just because they're a little too bulky, but I end up doing aftermarket stuff anyway, so I'm not really too worried about it. And the more I'm looking at this, I think the 6.5 horsepower might be my more go-to. Totally forgot this thing had a foot brake pedal for it, so it's kind of running into the engine side cover right there, and this thing's not even like on there all the way. It still needs to go in like another inch, so I think it's going to be a little too tight to try to fit 11 horsepower in there. I'm still going to take the couple pieces off I need to and try to test fit the block in there just because I'm curious. but the 6.5 horsepower is probably looking more like my go-to. And in anything, I could always just put like a torque converter on this thing to actually give it some more low-end torque to spin these big wheels and tires and get some speed. So I'm thinking more towards the 6.5 horsepower, which I really wasn't planning on, but I guess it shouldn't be really too bad. Probably hook a torque converter on it, push the motor over a little bit more, and kind of just line that chain straight up. Shouldn't be too bad. And then if anything, we could always do like the little hand brake like the mini drift quad has over here. So just like a little hand brake for the rear. So all hydraulic instead of having the foot brake, and then they just kind of just be your little foot pegs. But all right, let's pull this 6.5 horsepower out of there real quick and tear down this 11 horsepower, get the couple things we need off of it, and test fit it up in there and see how she's looking. I think it might be a little too big, but it's always worth a shot, and I'm already this deep, I might as well test fit it and see what it looks like in there, because I already have it lying around, so why not try to use it if I can. All right, I at least got to show you guys, so I'm not bluffing what's actually going on, but this is the current situation, trying to get the 11 horsepower inside of here. So she definitely ain't gonna fit, that's for sure. She's just definitely a little too long on the head side where it'll actually let it sit level. Like, it could do a bunch of frame modification like within this area to actually get it to sit down, but the more I'm thinking about it, I probably won't have any adjustment going back and forth or any of that. So I don't think the 11 horsepower is gonna be a move, unless you guys got some ideas on what I can actually do. Maybe lift the motor up a little bit, try to get the head more up in this area under the seat or something. But I think we're gonna be leaning more towards a 6.5 horsepower engine on this build. Maybe do a torque converter on it, get a little bit more torque instead of just doing a clutch like the other setups. But yeah, this is the dilemma with the 11 horsepower right now. So I'm gonna get this thing out of here before it falls over and falls on the ground, makes a huge mess. So I'm gonna cut this. All right, so I just got the 11 horsepower pulled out of the frame here. That thing was a little sketchy, getting it kind of wedged up in there, but that thing's definitely not gonna fit. And especially with how wide this motor is, it's kind of hard to tell, but there's my whole arm. You can kind of see this thing is very wide. So even if I did put it in here, the shaft would be sticking out pretty much almost here. I would have to run a jack shaft, and with how tight that motor would be, even if I tried to get it in here, it would have no room to run a jack shaft to actually run it to the rear sprocket. So I am gonna go with a 6.5 horsepower engine on this, unless I end up finding like a little bit of a smaller, like 10 horsepower motor or something that's more of like a 196 6 horsepower size, maybe just a little bit bigger. But I have two choices of motors right now. I have a 196 from a Coleman that's just sitting on the shelf over here, and then I also have the Honda GX200 I just got unseized in a couple videos ago. So if you haven't seen that, go check that out. But I have choice of the Honda GX200 or the 196 Coleman motor. They both will fit in here exactly the same. They're basically the same exact engine, just different brands. So it's basically going to be the same as this mini drift quad with the 196 in here. I probably try not to run a jack shaft. I would like to run a torque converter on this setup, since it should help push the chain over a little bit. And if anything, I can have the kind of engine hang over to the right side a little bit, since there's going to be a whole torque converter cover. Like my off-road mini bike has a torque converter, so you can kind of see how much the cover actually sticks at past the motor. So you can kind of let the motor hang off one side, let the torque converter hang off the other side, kind of equals it out a little bit. So that's kind of the plan. So probably start looking at some parts, get an engine plate ordered up, and just like simple stuff like torque converter, chain, just so I can actually start mocking a few things up, get some stuff welded up, and getting everything all in line with itself. And then I just got to fix a few things. Like I noticed that the seat kind of piece is all chopped off here, so got to get that all welded up. And then I noticed someone already chopped the engine mount for the stock motor that comes in these. I think it's a 125 frame. They already chopped this mount out, so I got to just finish cleaning that up so it's not all jagged and all that and not going to cut you. Probably going to have to chop out that bracket and so forth. So definitely got a little bit of work to go, but it's going to be basically the same as that thing, just a big off-road machine with a torque converter and a lot of power to at least hopefully move these big wheels and tires through some sand and stuff. So that's kind of the goal. I'll probably end up having to change the gear ratio on it too, since it's got a pretty small gear on it. It looks like a 45 tooth or something. So probably have to end up putting like a 60 on here just to get a little bit more low-end torque and kind of lose some of the high end, but we'll see. So we're gonna get to work on this thing probably in a week or two, once I actually have some parts in hand, and then we can actually start getting real deep in the work, welding in an engine plate and doing all that. So this is just gonna be kind of just the introduction on the new project we got going on and kind of the plans with it. So I am gonna be putting a 6 horsepower motor on it. I want you guys to tell me, do I put the 196 Coleman motor in it, or do I put the seized Honda GX200 that I just unseized into it and get it all finished up and have that thing actually running on its own for once in the project and see how that thing performs, since I did a little sketchy work to that, but we're not going to talk about that. But other than that, that's going to be the end of today's video. Hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, hope you like, comment, subscribe. Stay tuned for more content, and peace out.